The rain had been falling for hours, tracing slow rivers across the cafe window. Inside, everything smelled faintly of roasted beans and rain-soaked pavement, the kind of scent that makes people nostalgic without knowing why. Ethan checked his phone again. 6:47 p.m., his date. Clara was already 17 minutes late. Her profile had been warm, thoughtful, filled with little details about her love for gardening and old jazz records. She'd even written, "I believe in second chances." He liked that. After losing his parents young and spending years in foster care, the idea of a second chance felt like home. He took a sip of his lukewarm coffee and sighed. Maybe she wasn't coming. Maybe this was one of those online stories that ended before they even began. Just as he reached for his coat, the bell above the cafe door jingled. 2 elderly women walked in, dressed in matching raincoats, one pale blue, the other lavender. They looked around hesitantly before their eyes found him. Then, almost in unison, they smiled. "Ethan?" the woman in blue asked softly. He blinked. Yes. The woman in lavender clutched her handbag tighter. Her hands trembled slightly as she reached into it. "We've been looking for you." Before Ethan could process what she meant, she pulled out an old photograph, faded at the edges, slightly creased. His breath caught in his throat. It was him. A small boy, maybe 5 years old, standing beside a wooden fence. He recognized the smile, the same one he hadn't seen in decades his own. Where did you get that?" Ethan asked, his voice barely more than a whisper. The women exchanged glances. "It's a long story," the woman in blue said. "May we sit?" He nodded slowly, his pulse hammering. As they sat down, the cafe around them seemed to blur into silence. Rain softened the world outside, and the ticking of the wall clock became the only sound that filled the pauses between their breaths. "My name is Margaret," said the woman in blue, "and this is my sister, Ruth." Ruth smiled faintly. "We know this must be confusing, but please hear us out." Ethan nodded, leaning forward. Margaret unfolded her hands on the table. "We used to volunteer at a children's home many years ago. There was a little boy there. His name was Ethan." His stomach turned. "That can't be," she continued gently. "You had a small wooden bear you carried everywhere. You told us it was your best friend. You said your mom gave it to you." Ethan froze. He hadn't told anyone about that bear in decades. The little wooden toy that vanished the day he was moved to a new foster family. "How do you know about that?" he whispered. Ruth's eyes glistened. "Because, dear, we were there the day you left." Silence. A deep, heavy silence that pressed on Ethan's chest, like a forgotten memory clawing its way back. He swallowed hard. But why now? After all this time? Margaret reached into her coat pocket and placed a folded letter on the table. "Because your mother wanted you to have this. She left it with us before she passed away." The world tilted slightly. Ethan's eyes blurred. His mother, a name that had lived like a ghost in his heart. "Passed away?" he murmured. Ruth nodded, tears slipping quietly down her wrinkled cheeks. "She was young. She wanted to come for you, Ethan. But life was crueler than she expected." He touched the letter with trembling fingers, afraid that it would crumble under his touch. It was old yellowed paper, sealed in brittle wax. The initials EM were etched faintly on the corner. Can I open it?" Margaret smiled sadly. "It's yours. It always was." He broke the seal carefully, his heart pounding as the faint scent of lavender rose from the paper. His mother's handwriting was neat, graceful, the kind that belonged to someone who believed words could carry love across time. My darling boy, if you are reading this, it means I couldn't come back for you. But please know not a day passed that I didn't think of your smile, your little wooden bear, and the way you used to sing to the rain. You were my light, Ethan. I left you because I had to, not because I wanted to. One day I hope you'll forgive me. The words blurred as tears filled his eyes. He clutched the paper, pressing it to his chest. For a long time, none of them spoke. Only the sound of rain filled the silence. Finally, Ruth said softly, "We didn't know how to find you until recently. A friend helped us search online. When we saw your photo on that dating site, we knew." Ethan looked up. "You pretended to be my date?" Margaret smiled faintly. "We didn't know any other way to reach you. Would you have come if two old ladies had asked to meet?" He almost laughed a broken, shaky laugh that carried the weight of years. Probably not. Then he looked at them again, really looked, and realized something in their eyes. The same kindness he remembered from the home. The same warmth that had made him feel safe when he was just a scared little boy clutching a wooden bear. "You were the ones who used to read to me," he whispered, "by the window every Sunday." Ruth nodded through tears. "We promised your mother we would keep an eye on you, and though it took us years, we finally did." Ethan's throat tightened. "I don't even know what to say. Just say you're all right," Margaret said gently. That's all she ever wanted. The rain eased outside, leaving the world washed and still. Inside the cafe, three lives quietly reconnected, not through chance, but through the fragile thread of love that time couldn't erase. The rain had stopped by the time they left the cafe. The evening sky hung low and gray, painted in the kind of silence that feels sacred. Ethan walked between Margaret and Ruth, holding the letter like something too fragile to lose again. They stopped by a small garden just across the street, a patch of earth surrounded by white fences and overgrown daisies. Ruth leaned on her cane, smiling wistfully. "Your mother used to love daisies. She said they were brave little flowers, always growing where no one expects beauty." Ethan knelt and brushed his fingers over the petals, whispering, "She used to say that to me too." For a while, they simply stood there, three souls bound by a story that had waited far too long to be told. Then Margaret turned to him, her eyes soft. "There's something else, Ethan. Your mother left you more than a letter." She reached into her bag once again and pulled out a small wooden bear, worn, scratched, but unmistakably the same one from his childhood. Ethan's breath hitched. He took it in both hands, the weight of memory nearly breaking him. "I thought this was gone forever." Ruth placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "It found its way home, just like you." A tear slipped down his cheek, but this one felt lighter, like it belonged not to sorrow, but to peace. "Thank you," he whispered, "for not giving up on me." Margaret smiled. "Your mother asked us to deliver that bear when you were ready to stop running from your past. I think that time is now." He nodded, clutching it tightly. "She'd be proud of you both." They laughed softly, and in that sound was something healing. A reminder that love, even delayed, still arrives on time. A few days later, Ethan returned to the cafe. The same table, the same rain tapping against the glass. But this time, when the doorbell jingled, it wasn't two elderly women who entered. It was Clara. She looked nervous, holding a small umbrella and a shy smile. "I'm sorry I missed our date last week," she said. "My train was canceled because of the storm." Ethan blinked, stunned. You mean you didn't cancel? She shook her head, frowning. No, I even sent you a message, but maybe it never went through. He stared at her for a moment before a quiet smile spread across his face. No, he said gently. It didn't. But it's okay. I think I was supposed to meet someone else that night first. Clara tilted her head. Someone else? He looked toward the window, watching a ray of sunlight break through the clouds. 2 women, and a part of my past I didn't know was waiting for me. Clara smiled, intrigued. That sounds like a story worth hearing. Ethan smiled back. It is. Maybe I'll tell it someday, over coffee and rain. And as they sat together, the world outside washed clean once more. Ethan finally felt something he hadn't known he'd lost. Not love, not hope, but belonging. Because sometimes the heart doesn't find people by coincidence. Sometimes it's guided home by memory, by forgiveness, and by the gentle hands of those who never stopped caring.